Hello, and welcome back to a Nosebleed Perspective. Sorry for our little bit over a week hiatus. We were gone. My air conditioner broke. I was in a hotel. It was a whole thing. So now we're back. Housing appliances work, and we're going to be going over the AFC South this week. So we got the Texans, Colts, Jags, and Titans. Last year, the Texans came out on top. The Titans snuck in at the wild card spot, and we all know what happened after that. So we'll go ahead and get this thing started. We're going to start with the Houston Texans. They play one primetime game this year, and AFC also, they play the AFC North and the NFC North as well. So, Gibby, you want to go ahead and lead us off with the Houston Texans? What do you think they're going to do this year?
Yeah, so the Texans have about $20 million left in cap space, but we all know the big move was losing DeAndre Hopkins, which I think is just so massive. Most of the time, I'm not too big on losing a big-time wide receiver, but when Deshaun Watson had to run around and make things with his terrible O-line, like Hopkins was always there for him to dump it down to, kind of like a running back. So with him gone, this team is going to look completely different. Teams used to have to shift their defense over to Hopkins. Everything used to have to change because Hopkins was on the field, and that's no longer there. So that's going to put a lot more pressure on the stooge, Billy O'Brien. He's actually going to have to be, a coach who calls a balanced game and do everything. And then he picks up an expensive broken running back for like $10 million in David Johnson. So he's going to try to justify that pickup and run the ball a lot more. But I don't think Johnson's got it anymore. He was kind of a one-year boom. And then, he couldn't even get on the field last year. So their O-line still isn't good. They still don't have a pass rush. I love watching Deshaun Watson play. I really do. But this team is I don't think they're going to be very good. And, it's weird to think that they were 3 quarters away with a 25-point lead from getting to the AFC Championship game. But I think they go 6-10.
6-10. Cheech, what about you?
Oh, see, I understand that they lost DeAndre Hopkins. I understand that he was a big piece to that team. But if Brandon Cooks is healthy this season and Randall Cobb delivers the way that we know he can, I think that their wide receivers are just as good because Kenny Stills he did big things last year once he got traded from Miami to them. Will Fuller, dude's just lightning down the field. He can get open for Deshaun Watson if he stays healthy. I think that at wide receiver, this team got better. And if David Johnson's healthy, they also got stronger in the backfield. If not, okay, yeah, Duke Johnson, he's kind of he's not really trusted. But I think that this is actually a good team that got better in the offseason. And I'm pretty sure most people are going to disagree with me because everybody's just blown away that the number 1 wide receiver in the NFL got traded from this team. But I don't know. I'm not buying into it. I think that that the Texans had a game plan there. And I've got them going 10-6. They do have a tough start to the season with the Chiefs and then the Ravens, but 10-6 is what I've got for the Texans.
Wow, 10-6. So you don't think the Hopkins trade is?
No, it's not going to cripple them.
And you think they got better?
Yeah. Because instead of having one really good wide receiver, now they've got 2 dudes that have proven themselves. Brandon Cooks, we know, is a good wide receiver. He got paid by the Rams for a reason. He just gets injured.
Cheech, didn't you have Brandon Cooks on your team last year in fantasy?
Yes. But
how many games did he play? How many games did he produce?
Okay, yeah. That's why there's a huge caveat to all of this. Like, he's got to stay healthy. Randall Cobb's got to yeah, I know that, like, on paper, if you're just trying to, like, make the simple play, DeAndre Hopkins is the better guy to go with instead of a duo of Brandon Cooks and Randall Cobb. However, if both of those guys show up healthy and ready to rock, and I think that that this wide receiver core is better than the wide receiver core they had last year.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, yeah, despite losing him, obviously, if they can stay healthy between, with Cooks, Deshaun Watson being back there, also Kenny Stills, Will Fuller, Randall Cobb. But I mean, Randall Cobb he's old, man. He just is. And
yeah, he's 29. Like, he's okay.
He's gonna get hurt. I think Brandon Cooks probably gets hurt. I mean, it's just he's always hurt. He's got an issue with concussions. I mean, I think he's a great player too. Obviously, if he can stay healthy and produce, they will be good because he is a true like good one receiver. So we'll just have to see how that works. And David Johnson, Gibby kind of mentioned him. I have no idea what we're going to get from him this year. I do think he's better than a just 1 year boom, but injuries have riddled him, and he's also came back and not been the same person. So we'll see. But I think it's nothing but an upgrade in the backfield from what they've been the past few years. I mean, Duke Johnson, Alfred Blue, they haven't had any type of good running back since Arian Foster. So, we'll see what happens with that. They drafted another old lineman at North Carolina. Even with Larry Tunsil last year, I mean, you kind of mentioned it, Gibby. Deshaun Watson was running for his life every play. And Hopkins, and we were talking about health in the receiving core, Hopkins was that guy who was always there. He's one of the most reliable, receivers. He was never hurt. He's never dropping balls. So they're gonna realize that they're gonna miss him. So I got them going 6-10. Their over under is 7.5. By the way, I didn't mention that at the beginning, but I think they're gonna go under. And I'm just curious to see how they perform with everything with the Hopkins trade and Billy O'Brien just being himself. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. Opening up the season, like you said, Cheech, against Kansas City and Baltimore, it's going to be tough. And then I even think Pittsburgh and then Minnesota, it's a tough schedule. So I think they miss the playoffs this year.
Cheech, I'm just surprised, not by anything else, but that you like this team, and they're maybe the worst team at the tight end position in the whole league.
That was one
they're
thing
so
I thought
bad.
There's
no
Darren Fells. Darren Fells is definitely not the kind of guy that you're going to pass that ball off to.
I mean, he's a third string guy anywhere else. So that's my only take on that. I think I don't know. I'm not a big JJ Watt guy anymore, so that's kind of what I just think their D line's bad. So this is a very interesting team. I think this is a very interesting division as a whole.
Yeah, for sure. And we'll go on to another team who I think is pretty interesting and definitely could make a run. The Indianapolis Colts. Their over-under this year is 8.5, and they got one primetime game against the Titans. So the Colts this year, I think they're going to be right there in the race for a wild card spot, especially with that additional spot. They're going to be up there with the Patriots, the Browns, the Steelers, those types of teams that are going to be trying to get in as well. And if there was ever a fit in today's NFL with how the game has progressed for Phillip Rivers to come in and play quarterback and be somewhat successful, I think it is with this team with that O-line. I mean, they got one of the best O-lines in football, and if T.Y. Hilton can be back, I think I've talked about this before. It's simple formula. When he's on the field, they have a chance of winning games, or they do win games. He's he's just a good receiver. He's an X factor out there, and that defense is so young and good. Darius Leonard, Forrest Buckner, Justin Houston, Malik Hooker. Those players they're really good, and they're young, and we'll see how they do. I'll be interested with them in their backfield. They're definitely going to want to run the ball with, I think they have 3 or 4 running backs who could play. So I like them going 9-7 and making one of those wild card spots over the Browns.
Crazy. So I also like the Colts this year. Real quick though, just looking at this overall division, do you guys feel like this is one of the most bland divisions in the NFL?
It always has been.
Yeah, it's been like that forever.
Whenever you see an AFC South game, you're like, oh God, I guess I'll sit.
Somebody's got to win.
Yeah, that's why it was so cool when Deshaun Watson came into that division, because it was like, oh, somebody fun to watch, and Hopkins obviously. But man, this division has always been the division where you're like, I guess I'll fucking watch.
Yeah. Because as I was doing all this, I was just like, man, this just no part of the AFC South is exciting. But I've got the Colts winning the AFC South at 11-5. I think Phillip Rivers has a bounce back season this year. Nice. Phillip Rivers is just he's gonna figure it out again. He's gonna prove that he deserves that $25 million per year that he's getting. And tight ends, they got good ones. Trey Burton, solid tight end. Jack Doyle, solid tight end. He's got 2 tight ends he can pass the ball to. Wide receiver core, they're pretty weak. I mean, obviously T.Y. Hilton, if he stays healthy, he's the man. He makes it happen. But other than that, their wide receiver core isn't really not really tested. Paris Campbell drafted last year. They drafted a wide receiver in the second round this year. And I think that part of what's going to make Phillip Rivers have a good comeback season is going to be that O-line. Like you said, this O-line stacked. I mean, Marlon Mack was running like a madman last year because he was getting open. The O-line was creating holes for him. And I think that's going to continue again this year too. So I think that this team is one of the better all-around football teams in the NFL. Colts win the AFC South 11-5.
Nice. All right. So I'm an AFC West guy, so I've been watching Crybaby Rivers for a long time. And I think this dude is just, for whatever reason, I mean, he puts up numbers, but he's not good. Like, in my mind, he's not a good quarterback. He can't handle any type of adversity. As soon as anything goes wrong, he's done. And that's why he's only won 4 playoff games his whole career. He's had very, very, very good Charger teams that he couldn't even lead to the playoffs. There was one year where the defense ranked number 1, special teams was like dead last in the league, and offense ranked number 1, and they still could not make the playoffs. He just can't make the plays. So whatever team Phillip Rivers is on, maybe it's biased, I don't know, but I just can't believe in them. They do. I would say they have the best O-line in football, and Marlon Mack is a very good running back. It was weird when they took Jonathan Taylor, though. My brother-in-law is a huge Wisconsin fan, so I watch a lot of Wisconsin games. He fumbles the ball a lot. He had 18 career fumbles at Wisconsin, and that's not something you just fix overnight. So DeForest Buckner, I think that was a move they had to make because their D-line is not good. They can't get to the quarterback at all. And luckily for them that they are in the AFC South with like the worst wide receiver corps in the league, because if not, they would just get burnt every week. Their DBs are god-awful. There's not one that I'm excited about. And the only one that I am, Malik Hooker, they're talking about getting rid of it. They didn't even fifth-year extend. Yeah, they're talking about they didn't fifth-year extend him. This was his year to get his fifth-year extension. So whenever you have a guy like that and you're talking about, not that high on him, and then they draft Julian Blackmon to kind of replace him. I just don't know. They had the best O-line in football last year, maybe Cowboys probably, but it just doesn't seem to get there. I do think they're an 8-8 football team, but I don't think they make the playoffs. And it's just I just don't like this division, I guess.
I mean, it's hard to. And yeah, you made a good point. 8-8, I don't think is going to make the playoffs this year. In recent years, I think it has, especially for certain divisions. But yeah, I think you have to get to 9 wins to have a chance, and even then, it might not be enough. So we'll see. Damn, I didn't know that about Malik Hooker though, because if you don't take that 5th-year option, it kind of sends a message to them. So, especially you said that draft pick. So, will be interesting to watch that. So, all right. So now we're gonna go ahead and move to the armpit of this division, which is the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Duval.
Oh, I was trying to find some good points. So I will start with the positives here. I think they had a decent draft. They addressed the positions they needed to. And I don't know if that's, a positive thing to say, or it's just something that absolutely had to happen because they had no players on defense. I mean, they probably lost 4, 5, 6 Pro Bowl caliber players in the past couple of years. I mean, what the hell's going on over there? There's obviously been some tension with management. So it's going to be tough for the Jaguars. And I do like Gardner Minshew. I think he fits the NFL quarterback of today's game. I think he can move around a little bit, but he needs an O-line. Don't know if they have it. They got C.J. Henderson and Joe Schobert, whatever the fuck his name is. Yeah, so I think they'll be in a few games this year, but they'll be lucky if they win a couple games. I don't have much to say. The over-under is 4.5. Hammer that under, and I just don't have a lot else to say about them.
Yeah, I mean, maybe their C.J. Henderson wins Defensive Rookie of the Year. Maybe that's something Jaguar fans could get excited for and maybe watch that. But you all know my thoughts. I think he's the second best corner in this class. So I just don't know, man. Like, whenever you just give away superstars like that, like, you're rebuilding, and it's just going to take a while. I know Jags a few years ago in that Patriots game, it just seemed in the playoffs, it just seemed like everything went downhill from there. They had the game won and everything, and ever since then, it's just been I mean, I think Leonard Fournette's a good running back, but I never pay running back, so I don't have an issue with them talking about not paying him. But if they trade him and then they go on and maybe they get rid of Miles Jack. Like I wouldn't be surprised. Like nothing is going to surprise me from this team, and I have them at 3-13 as well.
Yeah, I'm hammering that under as well. I've got them at 2-14 this season. I just there was just no mercy to be spared with them because, like you said, I mean they have so many holes and they're just not a built football team right now. And Gardner Minshew is a C version of Baker Mayfield. So I don't know why you're so high on Gardner Minshew when he's literally like
True.
he's Baker Mayfield's little brother who only made the varsity team because he was Baker Mayfield's little brother. Not actually, he's actually a decent quarterback in real life. He's a better quarterback than me, but Gardner Minshew is just nothing to really talk about. And yeah, I think that 2-14, these dudes, I think I might have them as the worst team in the NFL, and they could just be going for Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, for sure.
It's not that I think that he's a great quarterback. I just think that he can play in the NFL, and I'm not going to say he's better than Baker Mayfield, but
I mean, he's better than Mike Glennon, that's for sure.
yeah, I mean, he kept them in a few games last year, so I mean,
yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah, we don't have much else to say about them. So they do get a primetime game with the Dolphins that I'm sure we're all so excited to watch. Yeah. So, all right. So we'll move to the Titans. Tennessee Titans last year, they had a good playoff run until they ran into the buzzsaw of the Chiefs, unfortunately for them, and still played, a decent game for the most part. So, Cheech, what do you think the Titans are going to do this year?
Titans. The Titans were another tough team for me. I ended up being pretty positive with them because I believe in Ryan Tannehill. We got the Titans going 9-7, and they end up taking that 7th wild card spot. So I got 3 playoff teams in the AFC South.
Oh shit!
Yeah. This bland division is taking the playoffs, and that's just because last year they proved they could play as a team. Like there isn't one focal point player. I mean, obviously everybody went crazy over Derrick Henry last year, but like this is just a straight up team. There's no one guy that you're always going to look to. They don't have a star quarterback. This is just a group of dudes that play football really good together, and Mike Vrabel has all of these guys bought in, and all of these guys are just willing to put out every single week for Mike Vrabel. So they're not a great team, but 9-7, they make the playoffs. I was really actually disappointed when I saw, when I was going through my lists and I saw that they were a playoff team because I wanted the Jets to somehow slip in. But yeah, no, Ryan Tannehill is just Ryan Tannehill and Mike Vrabel, good duo right there, leading the Titans to the playoffs. That's really all I have to say about the Titans, though.
Yeah, so they have about 19 million in cap space. I think it's going to be a tough road for them to get back to a deep playoff run that they had last year. So, they lose their DN, Jarrell Casey. He goes to the Broncos. Cornerback Logan Ryan, who made a lot of really big plays in the playoffs for them. He left. He's still a free agent, so free agency isn't over. Wherever he goes, he's going to make an instant impact. And then their biggest loss is Jake Conklin, who goes to the Browns. He was their right tackle. So this team was real big on running the ball left and then play action, roll out right. And Jake Conklin was very, very, very good at setting that edge for Ryan Tannehill and giving him all the time in the world, and that's gone. So it's going to be tough. I do like their cornerbacks, and then they even go out and they draft, Fulton in the second round, which I thought was a good pick. To this team, I think it comes down to can they get to the quarterback. So the Javion Clowney watch is huge on this team. They have 19 million. Supposedly he's asking for 20, but that's not going to happen. So if they do make the move for him, we'll see what happens. I'm not sold on Ryan Tannehill, but this coaching staff is, he's part of the Bill Belichick tree, so maybe he doesn't need a top end quarterback. So maybe he can do just enough. It's unfortunate that they had to pay him $25 million in my eyes, but it's going to be a tough road for these guys. They go 9-7, win this division, but no one. Well, they're the only team that makes the playoffs. No one in this division will win a playoff game.
Jeez, it's ruthless. Well, I guess I'll try to find some type of happy medium between 3 playoff teams and just no chance at anything. Uh, I like the Titans this year. That I kind of wrote that down too. Conklin is a huge loss. I mean, there's no getting around it. It is, and hopefully, Baker Mayfield could use that to his advantage, but he probably won't. We'll see. But I mean, Ryan Tannehill. Let's talk about him for a second. When you talk about Ryan Tannehill, I think that no one expects anything from this guy. No one thinks of him as a top-tier quarterback in the league, and I think he knows that. So he still has that chip on his shoulder besides, being paid that amount of money. Chichi mentioned they don't have a superstar quarterback. I mean, you're right, but they sure fucking paid him like one. So, but I think he's still going to play. I think and be good this year. I think he's going to produce. Derrick Henry, he got tagged this year, and I think he's going to still have to try to earn the money that he's going to want next year. So he's going to be balling out again. They got, like Gibby mentioned, that defense is pretty good. I like their secondary as well, their corners, and Kevin Byard right there. And they got still a decent O-line. I really love their left guard, Roger Saffold. He's a super athletic, quick, just offensive lineman who can create holes in the middle. I've talked about him before, but I meant, he's a huge success when he was with the Rams. So, and the year he left, all saw what happened. So, they got a couple low key weapons. I really like what Corey Davis did at the end of last year. He really came into his own. He's a big body. He can, I think he scored on like a fucking 70-yard sweep run or something last year in like week 17 or something crazy. So he's got some speed too. I like him. And Jonnu Smith, this will be his first year, like completely knowing that he's the guy. So I kind of like him. I think he's going to be a good tight end, Cheech. So watch out for him. But I think they win the division, go 11-5. So I got big hopes for this team. So that's about all I got for them. But
what's your all's thoughts on? My bad. What's y'all's thoughts on AJ Brown? I think he could really be a superstar in this league. The way that wide receiver, he's a big body guy, not a burner, but he can jump up and grab some balls and really kind of be Ryan Tannehill's DeAndre Hopkins.
So whenever I said Corey Davis, I actually meant to say AJ Brown. That's my bad. That's on me. Thank you for that. I knew you realized that, No, I really like him. So I already said what I said about him. Just replace the Corey with the AJ. Here we are.
I mean, Corey Davis is a pretty good wide receiver.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah. But yeah, AJ Brown, solid dude. I like him a lot. I went a couple of weeks with him on fantasy because I felt like it was only a matter of time before he was going to blow up. And unfortunately, that wasn't the game that the Titans had. And I think that's going to be the only thing that holds AJ Brown back is that's not the way they play football in Tennessee.
I mean, like I said, they'll find ways to get him in the game. That jet sweep that Corey Davis did allegedly was by AJ Brown. So, I think they'll be fine. I'm excited to watch this division as bland as it is, though, because they do have some teams that could make the playoffs. I think as much as I'm kind of down on the Texans this year, I still think, man, I just love Deshaun Watson. I think he just makes shit happen. He's a winner. He's always won. So –
yeah, I mean, there was that one play last year that I don't remember what game it was. It was at the end. It was towards the end of the season or something like that. Yeah, and he was just getting smoked. He was 90% sacked, fought out of it, got the ball off. I mean, like the dude plays with so much heart. He's like you said, he's a winner, and he's exciting to watch.
Yeah. So, Well, that's about all we got. You guys got anything else for AFC South? Those poor Jaguars.
Yeah. Duval.
Tough time.
Move to London.
Yeah, you might as well. I think they're the first team that'll go if we ever decide to go international. I mean, just like who even goes to those games? Like,
they were trying to give away beer. I know we've talked about this before, but they were trying to get people to go to the stadium. But hey, free beer in the first half. They still couldn't sell out half the stadium.
Jesus,
I would go. Like now that I live in Europe, I would 100%. It's like $100 maybe to fly to England from Germany. I am
absolutely. If you buy last minute,
Are they still going to be going over there with the COVID shit going on?
Not this year.
They canceled that, right?
No international games.
Right.
So hopefully 2021 season, I'm going.
Or they could just set record lows for stadium attendance and just be like, all right, we gotta fucking move. So all right, that's been our AFC South prediction show. Make sure you guys subscribe to our channel, and we'll get back with you next with the AFC West. All right, guys.